welcome to Spooky Stories with the Scarebrarian. Today we are going to dive into the haunting world of Tiffany Jackson. This book, The Weight of Blood, is a gripping tale that draws you in with its dark atmosphere and themes that a lot of people unfortunately can relate to. I read this book last month and I haven't stopped thinking about it. And I would say it's one of the most thought-provoking books, not only in the horror section of our library, but pretty much in the whole library. But I'm also going to be completely honest with you guys. This was one of the hardest books I've ever read. And I know a lot of you guys come in and you ask for Stephen King. This is actually an homage to Stephen King by Tiffany Jackson. An homage is like a book that is written to honor someone. But in my opinion, this is even more disturbing than the book that he wrote, which was called Carrie. It takes place in a racist southern town, and there are a lot of towns like that are still filled with horrors that you see in this book. So a lot of students have actually returned it because it's very intense. So just use your discretion if you want to read it. Let's get right into it. So Springville, which is the town that the protagonist Maddie lives in, looks like a picture postcard southern town. Like warm smiles, sweet tea, high school football on Fridays, but it's not as picture perfect as it seems. It has a deep, dark secret, and that dark secret is racism that people won't even admit to, let alone confront. And for the protagonist, Madison Washington, this secret has ruined and dominated her life. So Maddie is a biracial teen. She's half black, half white, and she deals with relentless bullies and comes from a very troubled family. Her father is white, he's highly racist, and he wants her to pretend that she's not half black. He calls it something shameful and that she has to hide it. And so basically she just goes through life with her head down, staying invisible and living in fear. But a rainstorm in the beginning of the book is, it kind of ruins her, it ruins her very fragile existence. It makes her curls stick out, and you can tell that she's biracial, but instead of like being empathetic and trying to help her, her classmates start taunting her, and they even throw pencils in her hair. And it was like I felt like somebody had hit me in the gut, and I had to put the book down for an entire day because I felt like that scene was so disturbing. But it lights a fire in Maddie, and she starts experimenting with telekinesis, and her very carefully controlled world starts to crack. And so then this town, Springville, they decide to throw their first integrated prom, which is black people and white people together. And it's kind of interesting, a town with this racist history throwing their first integrated prom. It's a setup, and you can see the craziness coming from a mile away. And this is not a typical high school story. Tiffany Jackson takes it up 10 notches and slams you face first into this crazy world, and it's dripping with tension, cruelty, and unimaginable power. So as prom night approaches, just like in Carrie, things start to spiral. Maddie is thrust into the spotlight and made up like a doll, and one of her classmates who tries to be nice to her, she kind of backfires. So Maddie has a hidden power. It's very dangerous. It's something that's lying dormant inside of her, and that's been awakened. So as the tension builds, Tiffany Jackson, the author, she tightens the noose around your neck, and you can feel Maddie's rage and her sorrow, and her powers erupt in such a way that Springville was definitely not ready for. And once prom night happens, there's no going back, and it basically is a blood-soaked nightmare full of vengeance that is swift and brutal, and nobody is safe. So this book is more than just a retelling of Carrie with a racial twist. I like it because Tiffany Jackson forces America to look at itself like its own mirror, its racist past and present, and how we're still living in a world with so much prejudice behind people's polite smiles. And she also explores what it's like to hide your true identity and how awful it feels to just constantly be pretending. And Maddie, her story is heartbreaking, but it's also terrifying. And when she unleashes her fury, the entire town pays the price. So my question to you is, are you ready to carry the weight of blood? So in my first video for this channel, I mentioned that I keep young adult books in the library, and our students are pretty good at picking out what they feel comfortable reading. But this book I suggest for only the most mature readers and people that are interested also like in historical fiction and learning about the history of the United States. It is a really difficult book to read, not because it's hard to understand, it's easy to understand, but the content is really sad and disturbing. There's racism, there's child abuse. It is tough to read, but it also does bring up social justice issues, and for that reason, it creates a story. Tiffany Jackson creates a story. She creates a narrative that is both unsettling and powerful at the same time. So if you feel like you're ready for this book, come and get it from the library today.